Hello and welcome to the TntMPD 3.0 Learning Library. This topic is on sending newsletters and specifically how to take advantage of the new email newsletter features of TntMPD 3.0. People have been asking for this for years, and there's a good reason for this because historically all there was a checkbox that said send newsletter, which came from the time when paper newsletters were the only way that people actually sent their newsletters. But for years people have wanted an email field, and that obviously creates some issues because the software needed to change a little bit, but also because people have different definitions of what email newsletters should do, etc. So anyway, the TNT 3.0 offers a new expansion of this field. The checkbox is still there, meaning this person gets a newsletter of some kind, but now there's a drop-down where you can pick what kind of newsletter they are going to get. Is it going to be paper only, email only, or both? I have several partners who get both a paper one and an email one. But also there's a couple ones here that give me an option of just in case. So I have some email newsletter only people, but if their email goes bad, the lookup's automatically going to bring them up for a paper one. So it's an email with a paper backup or vice versa, paper with an email backup in case a letter comes back undeliverable. Now, if you had an email group, a saved group that you use to compile your list for your email newsletter, you're going to want to migrate those people into the send newsletter area. You're going to want to take advantage of this new feature. So let me show you how you do that. Here's my saved group of an email newsletter. I've got 47 people in this group, and I look up this group. I go to Group Actions, Mass Change of Field, and what this does is allow me to change everybody all at once. Mass change of field. And the first field that I'm going to change, I need to do two different ones. The first one is going to be newsletter media preference. So what kind of newsletter are they going to get? And I can pick one of those 5 options. So in this group, I'm going to change them all to email with paper backup because they were my email recipients before. And I click OK. And I agree that that's all 47 I want to do. Email with a paper backup. But notice if you look at them that none of them have a newsletter mark by their name. That's because the newsletter checkbox is still unchecked. It's email with paper backup, but it's grayed out. So I need to do Group Actions again, Mass Change of Field, and this time Send Newsletter. It's the same field there in both places, equals true or yes. I click OK. I say yes. And now you'll see that the checkbox is checked, and then I have the email newsletter icon next to their names. Now, if one of these guys had an email address that was invalid, for example, came back wrong, click OK. Now you notice the icon is going to change from email to paper, and it shows me that he's email, but he's going to get the paper one instead. Okay, so that's what I would do. Now, if I had somebody who was going to get both, I might have to manually do that. I come here and I change that to paper and email. And then the icon would reflect that email, paper and email like that. Okay, now that's the second thing I wanted to show you. The third thing I want to show you is how do I record the sending of this? Some people have done this for years, others have never done it. I personally have for several years recorded when I send my newsletter to all of the recipients because I like to know when did a partner start getting letters from me and how often did they get them. And it's also a great way for me to have a running history of my newsletters. What day did I send them? How often did I send them? And what was the contents of the newsletter? So again, using this group of my email newsletter, I'm going to go ahead and log group history for this group. And so I go back to the Group Actions tab, log history, log group history, email newsletter. So I'm going to send an e-newsletter for all 47 contacts. I'm just going to title it this, like this, 2013-06 email newsletter. I like to put the date, the year and the date and the month on there just because it helps me keep track over time of what specific newsletter this was. And then I write a description of the newsletter. So this was my email newsletter about writing newsletters. And I click OK and agree that I want all 47 of them to get it. And that history is logged. And there it is. Email, newsletter, all done. Okay, so that's just a quick primer on the new email newsletter features. I encourage you to go to the help text on the TntMPD.com website where this is described in more detail and also step-by-step on how to transfer your email group to the new send newsletter field. Thanks for listening.